There seems to be a theme developing. I didn't mean for there to be a theme. Welcome back, friends. Happy Monday. How you doing? I hope you're well. Hey, listen, I kind of snuck a video in middle of last week, our ride around Shark Valley in the Everglades. And a handful of you have watched it, but not many. Not many. Seems like maybe it's time to ring that notification bell. I'll put it, I think it goes up here. I'll put it up here somewhere if you want to go watch it. I wish you would. You know, I just keep coming back to how crazy it is down here from a wildlife perspective. I grew up in the Midwest, man. I mean, 35 miles west of Chicago, and then migrated a whopping 180 miles to Indianapolis. And the wildlife down here is truly wild. I think I mentioned the drive to Shark Valley. All of a sudden, this pink thing just flashed over the front of my car. And, you know, I don't know that I've ever seen a pink bird in the wild, but, and of course, I thought it was a flamingo, because, you know, if you think about pink birds, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. But I think what it was a rosette spoonbill, which I had never heard of before. Maybe you have, and maybe you've seen one, but it was crazy. I was out walking around the park the other day, and it's been quite breezy, you know, every day, 10 to 15 miles an hour. That's breezy down here. And, you know, there's a lot of birds, and they sit up in the thermals, and there was this bird kind of floating around, and it couldn't have been more than 20 or 25 feet off the ground. I thought it was a kite, quite honestly, initially, and I guess it makes sense. I had to go and look at it. I didn't think it was real. And it was a swallowtailed kite. I have never seen one of those before either. And, you know, it's a good-sized bird, and quite honestly, for a second there, I thought it was going to get me. So, anyway, check out the Shark Valley video, and yeah, it's... If someone were to have put a bag over my head and I woke up in South Florida and you told me I was in a different country, I don't know that I would have disagreed with you. So I've spoken before about the fact that I don't consume other bike video all that much, but an interview with good old Grant popped up last week, and, you know, when an interview with Grant comes up, you got to kind of watch it, because he's, you know, I'm going to put my tongue firmly in my cheek. He is dear leader. And it's always interesting to kind of see what's going on in that head of his. Quite honestly, most of you probably know what's going on with Rivendell long before I do. That's a story, you know, of itself. But Grant has had kind of a fascination or obsession with rapid rise derailleurs for quite a while now. This is where the theme comes in, you see. We had brake levers backwards, we had shifters backwards, and now we got derailleurs going the wrong way. So rapid rise derailleurs, if you don't know, are, in a normal derailleur, when you tension the cable, it moves the pulley cage up to an easier gear. And then when you take tension off the cable, the spring in the derailleur basically brings it down into a harder gear. And what Shimano's idea was, and you know, as much as it may seem that they just kind of do things on a whim, I don't think they do anything on a whim. They've thought everything out pretty carefully. And in this case, it actually makes good sense, regardless of the fact that I've had, no small amount of disdain for these derailleurs for a number of years. I've referred to them as monkey motion derailleurs for no other reason than it's a good alliteration. So with a rapid rise derailleur, when you tension the cable, it brings the chain down to a harder gear, and when you release tension, the spring takes it up to an easier gear. It makes all kinds of sense when you think about it, because if you're grabbing for an easier gear, you're not only, well, one, you probably need it, and you're not only fighting against that cable tension, you're fighting against the spring and the derailleur. So in my head, it makes all kinds of sense. With an indexed shifter, it just felt so unnatural that I couldn't make sense of it. However, that Grant, when you listen to him talk about it, I sat there thinking, yeah, maybe I ought to give it a try. So, I don't know. They're making a derailleur, which seems like an incredibly cost-intensive thing to do, but that's Rivendell. I had several comments about my question about bikes, and people have asked, kind of what my thought process is about the two bikes and why I would build a new bike. And so I thought, well, that I can understand that. So the only bike that I would build, the only bike that has any kind of interest for me, is the Gorilla Monsoon, which is really, if you want to break it down and distill it down, it's just a kind of zippier version of what I've already got in the Bridge Club. That's taking it down to about the basest level that you can. And that's probably not going to happen. There just isn't enough product to do that. So then the question becomes Bridge Club or trucker, and if trucker, in what configuration? So this is all going to be paved. We're going to probably do this trip over probably 4 days. So it's not going to be long days in the saddle. So you could do either bike, obviously. I'm leaning toward the trucker with the Clydesdale fork, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to be shooting video, obviously, during this trip, and then I need to take cameras, probably some form of a tripod, and then I also need a way to offload that footage on a daily basis. Either that, or I guess just take a bunch of SD cards. I didn't really think about that. At this point, I'm more comfortable on that trucker. I think it's probably because I just ride it every day, even though it's not, they're short little rides, but I'm on it almost every day. And I just think that, we might camp one day. I just think the opportunity to carry more stuff without adding a bunch of extra bags is going to be the better way to go. It's still a ways off. I'll likely change my mind 2 or 3 more times before the time comes, but that's kind of where my head is at. I would say most of the comments were pro-trucker in some way or another. Most of it was trucker with a standard front wheel, but that's kind of why I'm thinking the Clydesdale fork. That's it. I hope you're well. Thanks for watching. Make sure you click the thumbs up button. I love to see the comments. It is the nicest comment section in all of the internets. And I hope something good happens to you today. Until next time, which may be sooner than next week, click the bell. Be nice, work hard, ride bikes, play music when you can. I'll talk to you soon.